We are operating on a frequency of 52 megacycles by authority of the Federal Communications Commission. A test program follows. For you who train technically, I need a... We are operating on a frequency of 52 megacycles by authority of the Federal Communications Commission. A test program follows. For you who train technically, I need hardly say that there's still a number of problems to solve. I guess you know them as well as anybody knows. But I think we've proceeded far enough.
I expect it to be higher than Worlds Collide. I expect it to be higher than Worlds Collide and Age of Ascension, but I did not expect it to be higher than Mass Mutation or Call of the Archon.
Yeah, well, let's go through it and show everyone what we're seeing. So, the average deck in KOTE 9 is made up of 13.3 actions, 17.8 creatures, 1.6 upgrade, and 3.3 artifacts. So that's, I would say that's a fairly standard deck layout. I mean, I wouldn't say that's deviating too much from the average. What's your thoughts?
Yeah. No, if you... hold on, I can get Dex Keyforge up and I can actually look at that. If I go to Dex Keyforge, the global average of Dex is 1.5 upgrades, 13.3 actions, 3.5 artifacts, and 17.7 creatures.
So,
which is pretty
much dead on what we've got.
It's pretty much dead on the average of what we've got, yes.
Yeah, so we've got average decks. But they only contain an average of 11.4 amber pips, and I would have thought that would be... What's the average on Dex Keyforge?
It does not actually say.
Okay, so apparently that's higher than the average.
I can see the global average makeup, but I can't see the global average.
No, okay.
In some aspect.
So let's be on to the SAS here then. Go ahead.
The average of 11 pips kind of catches me off guard, given that we've got quite a lot of Mass Mutation and KOTE, but the amount of raw amber you got off cards did sort of drop after KOTE because the game moved into a more board heavy game, whereas in KOTE you can literally not play a creature and place cards from your hand and still walk away with a win.
Yeah, no, completely. So when we look at the SAS though, what do you think? So just those who aren't clear, KOTE 9 is the average of the decks for KOTE 9. The average is the average decks of Keyforge. And the gaps we are seeing here is so much more than we saw in KOTE 8.
The efficiency makes perfect sense for me because...
Saber Disruption.
Yeah, Saber Disruption, because even if you're playing Reversal, or because you don't know what format your decks are, you're going to bring 3 decks that are very similar, that have got very high learning curves, so efficiency and disruption could be quite high in there. Effective power kind of makes sense. The amber control is a lot higher than I was expecting it to be.
Yeah.
And the artifact control gap looks huge, but when you actually look at it,
it's not.
It's relatively the same.
Yeah, it's gone from 1 up to 1. We asked this before, and they told us, and I forgot. It's like Roddy Wristlocks and things like that. Not Roddy Wristlocks, Scaly Capers, sorry, things like that.
Oh, okay. No, that's... If I was picking 3 decks, I'm pretty to come into this event, mine would probably fit nicely into there. You want 3 decks that are high learning curve, high skill curve, that you can't really come from there. And that when we were coming to that, the featured game for next week that I'm looking to record, I was quite surprised with one of the decisions, but we'll get into that when we get on to the featured game.
Yep. And as usual, we have a lot of Mass Mutation sets, which doesn't surprise us too much. We generally saw the previous format to be quite high, but I don't know. I still see Mass Mutation going like Worlds Collide and disappearing over time.
No, the Mass Mutation is a very KOTE-like set. It's got brilliant synergies. It's got brilliant utilization of the cards in hand and on board, and with the way you can manipulate the board and the hand, you can draw through your deck by the point you get to turn 4. Mass Mutation is an insanely powerful set, and I wouldn't expect to see it below 30% in this kind of event.
But KOTE is pretty low.
But KOTE, to put it in the nicest possible terms, is a low skill set. There are certain there are certain decks out there that are high skill, and that's probably what you see at 19%. But most KOTE decks that you'll see going on, apart from ones say like Gasoline that George Kegel runs, I play cards, I win. You have got exceptions such as Gasoline, which is a case of, oh look, you can do nothing during your next turn, and I've drawn all these cards. Good luck coming back from that. But majority of the time, it's a bit like my joke, which is a case of, I'm at 6. What are you gonna do about it? Oh look, my next turn I'm on 6. What are you gonna do about it?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. But it's nice to see AOA still has a strong presence there.
Yeah, the fact that AOA was higher than Dark Tidings really threw me. That's why I went and searched for a Dark Tidings deck. Because I worked very hard to change the streaming setup because I expected there to be loads of Dark Tidings. It's a very fun set.
Hey, Jupiter. But no,
Jupiter.
I mean, the issue was Dark Tidings coming out so late in the US. Now, that doesn't mean they didn't have access to the decks, but were they confident in their decks to bring out? And the US is a good chunk of the audience. I would say people just aren't comfortable with it enough yet, and so they're not sure.
But at the same time, that I want to bring a deck that my opponents know very little about, that I know well, in case they throw it into Archon or they throw it into Shot Adaptive. Because if they don't know much about the cards and they throw it into Shot Adaptive, you might force your opponent to bid more chains than that deck can handle, especially in a Dark Tides deck, which gains chains from the Tide as well.
No, that's true. That's true. Anyway, moving on to houses. Unsurprisingly, Logos is now the most popular house.
Oh, this.
The Dis has gone down to 16. The Shadows has gone down to 14%.
How much would that 10% that went into DT change the numbers for Dis here?
I think that's what happened. That's why Dis has gone down so much. I mean, it was never at the top, but it was just off the Logos, and Shadows was up and down.
But for the majority of KOTE 8, Shadows was on top, and Shadows is the third biggest.
Yeah, but again, Shadows is easy to play. You know the cards.
I would bet good money that the 3.4% of decks, that at least 80 of that 3.4% of those Mars decks are in AOA.
Yeah, I can believe it. And so each percentage here represents 1.5 decks, roughly.
Jupiter saying that he's surprised not to see that much of a bump in Untamed.
Well, the Dark Tidings bump was so small.
The Dark Tidings bump was quite small. AOA, well, Mass Mutation Untamed wasn't too bad. It's the biggest one we got in there, but
that's a fair point.
It had fairly decent foundations in Worlds Collide. So being at 12.9%, it's still the fourth biggest house with no other house going over 10%. But those seem to be consistently the four biggest.
Yeah. I'm guessing there's like 2 or 3 unfathomable decks, because I've been trying to find someone with an unfathomable deck to test to see if the logo is working for them for the last few days and gave up. So if you have an unfathomable deck, please ping me so I can see if the image loads for the icon for unfathomable.
It doesn't.
Thank you. I made some changes yesterday.
I checked it on the Key Frogs and it wasn't working.
Cool. Right, I'll have a look at that.
Bye.